Hi everyone, my name is Niknas. Welcome to another AEC Plus Tech Talk. These talks are organized by AEC Plus Tech, a platform that keeps you updated with the latest tools and technologies in the AEC space. Our talk today is about cloud-based model checking, and our speakers will show us how it really works. I'm very excited to welcome Jason Reichel, Country Manager Americas at Solibri, and Ward Turkyeh, BIM Consultant at Solibri, who will walk us through how teams can run checks directly on native Revit models, share results in the cloud, and know when to use Solibri Office versus Solibri Checkpoint in practice. Our goal, like always at AC Plus Tech, is to cut through buzzwords and show real workflows you can try tomorrow. This event will be recorded and saved on our AC Plus Tech YouTube channel. If you have any questions for our panelists during the event, please post them in the LinkedIn or YouTube chat box, and we will address them at the end. Thanks again for joining us. We're excited to dive in, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jason.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Niknaz. Actually, I'm going to ask maybe Ward to just do a brief intro on some of his background. I think it'll be useful for today's session, and then I'll kick it off.
Yep. Thank you very much, Jason. Thank you, Niknaz, for hosting this. Yeah, my name is Ward. I've been working in the industry, especially in BIM, as a BIM specialist, and I've been specializing in digital model checking. And now I'm responsible for Solibri Checkpoint as a customer success manager. Nice meeting you all.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Ward. My name is Jason Reichel. I've been with Solibri now for 2 years, trying to expand our business here in the US. I've been with AEC technology companies for the last 20 years, and before that, I was a practicing structural engineer. So I used BIM many years ago before products like Solibri existed, and we had to manually do a lot of manual work in those BIM models. So really excited to share with you today what we have. Niknaz, can you just confirm you can see my slides, please?
Sure. Yes, we can see it right here. Thank you.
Perfect. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Solibri, we are part of the Nemetschek group. We are joined by 12 other sister brands, many of these very recognizable names, especially in the US, the likes of Graphisoft, Vectorworks, RISA for structural engineers, and Bluebeam is definitely very well known throughout the industry. Solibri, we've been around for over 25 years doing model checking, and that's really just kind of been our main focus. And we are widely recognized, you can see over throughout 100 plus countries, as a best-in-class model checking and QA solution for BIM. So what we do is we help design and construction teams really try to catch costly errors, issues in the BIM model early in the design and planning process, and ensure that project requirements get met. So we want to help teams catch all of these potential issues before anything gets built in the field. And I like to say that we help teams trust their models so that they can realize the promise of BIM and all the benefits that BIM should bring to the table. So we can now do that through 2 solutions. Both of these solutions are rule-based products. Our flagship product, Solibri Office, that has been around since day one, so over 20 years. Previously was known as Solibri Model Checker. And then this year we introduced Solibri Checkpoint. So this is a completely new, different product from Solibri Office. It's cloud-based, and it really fills a big gap that we had, especially for US firms, and that is being able to support Revit files natively without that need to export to IFC. So we're going to focus on Solibri Checkpoint today in the presentation. Now, when we get this question a lot as we released Solibri Checkpoint earlier this year. When do I look at one product versus the other? What's the use case for each one? There's a lot of different kind of ways you could look at this, but I'm gonna touch on a few key points and important considerations for teams when considering Solibri. The first question or consideration is workflow or file type. So Solibri Office, since day one, has largely revolved around OpenBIM. It's fully supports OpenBIM standards, and that is IFC files predominantly, but also we address things like IDS, BCF, and other OpenBIM standards. With Solibri Checkpoint, we also support IFC files, but we now support native Revit files. So that's an important distinction when looking at the two different products that we offer. Another important consideration is deployment. So do you prefer a desktop application or do you prefer cloud-based? Sometimes there are limitations on cloud-based applications if it's a certain type of agency, or if you want to use products in an offline mode. A third consideration is around really features and capabilities and what kind of checks that you want to perform. So Solibri Office is well known for being a very comprehensive and deep solution. It comes with over 60 out-of-the-box rule templates. And obviously with 60 rule templates, there's a lot you could cover, but there's a lot you can configure and set up and really kind of customize and tailor to your needs. With Solibri Checkpoint, again, just released this year, we've included 3 out-of-the-box rule templates, and this was intentional. We want to keep it simple to use. But interestingly enough, these 3 rule templates cover about 80% of the use cases and the usage of rules in Solibri Office. So even though Solibri Office has the 60 plus, these 3 rule templates that we currently have in Solibri Checkpoint cover about how people use, cover about 80% of how people are currently using Solibri Office. So, again, that kind of that other 20% then that Solibri Office handles, very specialized checks, code compliance, things like that. That's really where Solibri Office will shine, as well as with OpenBIM workflows if you're using IDS. And in the transportation and infrastructure industry, especially here in the US, OpenBIM and IFC has been broadly adopted. And so Solibri Office is an excellent choice for that. With Solibri Checkpoint, again, it's a lot of the typical model checks. It's kind of covering that 80% of what everyone's doing. I want to run geometrical checks, and I want to validate data. I want to use Revit files. I don't want to convert to IFC. And I want to I want to democratize my model checking a little bit so it's not just kind of stuck to a few power users in the office. And the last thing I'll highlight here is around user profiles. So, again, if you're using IFC, we see a lot of big architecture firms or I would say large AE firms who are mature in their model checking and BIM processes, comfortable with IFC, comfortable with OpenBIM, gravitating towards Solibri Office. With Solibri Checkpoint, it's a great solution, a great option for general contractors and MEP contractors who are largely using Revit, don't want to deal with IFC, want something fast and easy and intuitive to use, as well as some smaller AE firms who are getting into model checking or new to model checking. It's a great starting point. So with that said, we are going to get into a bit of depth here with Solibri Checkpoint today, but I do want to give Nick Nas and AEC-Tech a little shout out here. They interviewed our Solibri CEO a few weeks ago, or about a month ago, published this great article, this great interview that is up on their website. You can go to it there. And our CEO, Vila, dives a little bit deeper into our portfolio, our vision, and kind of the future outlook for Solibri. So highly recommend checking that out.
Thanks, Jason, for the shout out. Yeah, it's a great read. I highly recommend it.
Yes, thank you so much. It was excellent work. And so, Ward, I'm going to pass it over to you, but just before you switch screens here, I do want to point out a couple of things. There's a couple of email addresses there to get a hold of any of us here on the call today. And I put up this QR code because we are running a very attractive end of the year promotion on Solibri Checkpoint, which we're going to highlight today. So if you want to take your phone, scan that, it'll take you right to that page with some more information. And with that, Ward, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you and let you share your screen, and let's dive into the product.
Thank you very much, Jason. I'll share my screen real quick. And also share some insights about Solibri Checkpoint. So I've started sharing. There you go. So I'm looking at this screen because my camera is over here. But just for the information, Solibri Checkpoint is a cloud-based, or let's say a browser-based model checker, which means that it operates fully in your browser. You don't need to install anything locally. And this actually makes sense because we've seen also with the increasing size of construction projects, we're required also to have some kind of high performance machines in order to operate on. But using cloud-based solutions, we're eliminating the need of this. And also all the manual work and manual processes that comes in from working on a desktop solution. So for instance, when working with Solibri Checkpoint, you can directly connect different platforms all together and kick off your model checking journey. Solibri Checkpoint allows for multi-factor authentication. So also it has an enhanced security. We allow single sign-on feature as well with Microsoft accounts. And as I mentioned, it operates fully in the browser. It is compatible with all the browsers out there. I personally use Microsoft Edge, but you can use Google Chrome, Firefox. It depends on your preference, basically. But you don't have to worry about all the rendering and the 3D elements that you see in our 3D viewer because everything is happening on the back end in the cloud, technically. So these are some of the stuff that I wanted to share with you before getting started with our session today on Checkpoint.
So Ward, that brings up a couple of thoughts. So as I've been talking to hundreds and hundreds of people and companies over the last couple of years here at Solibri, one thing comes up, and that is, model checking should not be this kind of standalone people in a corner, these highly specialized people running model checks. So the people and firms want a collaborative approach. They want integration with other tools. They want more people involved in model checking. So how can Solibri Checkpoint help firms in this regard?
Yes. So as you've mentioned, indeed, we hear this a lot. A lot of teams are having these disconnected workflows because of the different tools that are used. So the first thing we're doing with Solibri Checkpoint is to have everyone in one place. So over here, you can see on the left-hand side, we have a section for team members, and you can view all the team members who work with you on Solibri Checkpoint, and from there, you can assign them to different projects. So the icons that you see in the middle are the projects that I have on my account. I can view my own personal projects, but also all the projects on the company level, which means that also the projects that were imported by my team members, I can also see them, but I can access them only if they give me an access, basically. So if I go to my own projects, and let's say I want to share them with one of my colleagues, I can just right-click, click on share, and then we have two categories of people that we can share these projects with. The first one is people from my organization. So actually the people who work with me on in the same organization, I can give them access. For instance, I can give you, Jason, an access from here, add. And as you can see, there's an icon next to the new username, which refers to the access role that I would like to give this user. If I click here, I get to choose whether I want to give them access to admin rights through project admin access role or project member. And each one of these access roles has, of course, let's say some privileges or some limitations. And this all happens through the model checking process. So creating a filter, a rule, publishing these rules as libraries, and so on. So we're basically inviting also our team members to check with us the models in one place. And this is the first group of people. The second one is external users. And external users means that they're not part of my company. They are Checkpoint user. So let's say you have different stakeholders on your construction project, and you'd like to give them specific access to this project to see the content of this project. And you can invite them basically from here. So you can just type their email, hit the invite button, and then they will get an instant email in their inbox that they've been granted access to one of the projects on Checkpoint. And this is regarding the, the collaboration. As for the integration part, Solibri Checkpoint connects with different platforms in the industry, and not any platform. Well, we are connected with the key players, I would say, in the industry, and this includes, of course, Autodesk platforms, including ACC, Autodesk Construction Cloud, and also BIM 360 for the ones who are still using the old platform. Also, we're connected with Procore, Trimble Connect, as well as Microsoft platforms, including SharePoint and OneDrive. So if you have your models, your projects hosted on one of these platforms, you can simply integrate Checkpoint with these platforms and import the models directly into Checkpoint. So for instance, I get to choose Autodesk from here, and then the user will be asked to provide their ACC or their BIM 360 account. After that, they can access the content and they get to choose which model they would like to add to work on Checkpoint. The same process goes for Procore, Trimble Connect, OneDrive, and SharePoint. There's also an extra functionality for users who are not connected to a platform at this stage of the project. In this case, we allow them to create their own Checkpoint projects, and this option allows them to upload the models directly from their local drive. So true, we're working in a cloud-based environment, but we're also allowing users to upload the models directly into the platform. After loading the models, importing them, you will see them as icons, just like I'm showing over here. So this is a Procore project, this one is ACC, OneDrive, and of course, after that, you can start granting access to the users.
Got it. Okay. So let's pivot a little bit. I want to talk about some common frustrations I hear from people that I speak with. And there's a lot of kind of legacy clash detection software that's widely used out there. And some of the things, common kind of frustrations is I can run my clash, I get all kinds of results, but it's a nightmare to have to go through this long flat list of clash results and figure out what is what. How do I make sense of this long list? So what can Checkpoint do to kind of help with this? How can we help users with a better experience and with their clash results?
Yes. So actually, to answer this question, I will have to go to one of my projects. So I'm choosing this ACC project just to show you first the integration part and also showing you some 3D models. So I'm choosing, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with this one. This is the Revit example project from Revit 2024. It's the Snowdon Towers. So I already have it in place over here. So this is the model. I've loaded it. And what I'm going to do next is run a rule. So as mentioned in your slides, Jason, Solibri Checkpoint comes in with 3 generic rules, can be customized. It covers up most of the model checking workflow. One of these rules is actually the clash checking rule. Here I have an example. For instance, I would like to make a clash check between the structural elements and also the MEP models. So what I can do over here, just do a 3D preview to see the clashes, make sure that everything is working. And of course, we need to add a tolerance, just like any other clash check. There you go. But I can see that we have some areas over here, so it's better also to remove these areas. So I'll add a property and ask Checkpoint to remove the areas. So all the elements that have category area, let's make sure that we're selecting the correct ones. Yes. Save, and then run it again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run a clash. So the reason I've chosen the structural and the MEP model is that we hear a lot, especially from MEP designers and engineers, that they get a lot of clashes, a lot of intersections between the elements. Just want to make sure areas. Did I select that properly? Open filter. Okay, 3D preview. Okay. Yeah, so I need to choose not any off. Yes, okay, now I know. So not any off area. So I'm basically selecting all the structural elements. Yes, okay.
So you're filtering out those areas or spaces.
Exactly, because also when using other tools, the areas might be an issue. It's a Revit category, basically. So there need to be a way to filter it out, basically, from the model. And this is what I did. I just provided a statement over here to remove the areas from the structural model, so I can have more reliable clashes between the structural elements and also the MAP. And there you go. Okay, so here we have the data viewer. The data viewer is our companion through the model checking workflow on Solibri Checkpoint, because it reflects whatever I have in the 3D viewer, but in a customizable data set form. And what I mean by that is that you can see it will show you the failed results. So I can just double click on any of them, and then it will highlight it right away. But what's also interesting about the data viewer is that I can also group the clashes to have a better understanding of what's happening. So I can group them by result. You will see all the failed ones over here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the model name property so I can group the elements based on that. So from the file information property set, go to the model name. So we're going to add it for the base fields, which is the structural one. And perhaps we add also the colliding fields. And I'm going to also add the Revit category. So from the attributes property set, use category. And I'm going to add it for both the colliding elements and also the base elements. And when I say base and colliding, I'm referring to the structural model and also the MEP models. So there you go. The first type of grouping that I can do is a simple grouping. So I can add the colliding elements model name. In this case, I will see in the failed section which models are clashing over here and the number of clashes in every one. So here we have the electrical clashes. This long list is for all the electrical elements that have intersections with the structural ones, and the same thing for the rest of MEP models. Another way of grouping them would be by adding the base and colliding elements categories. So I'm going to add this one, add another one, which is the properties that I want to group the elements, and there you go. Now, if I go to the failed results, you will see that we have now the groups in the structural models. So my floors, I have 579 clashes in total. And also because I'm doing another level of grouping for the MEP elements, I can click on the drop down, and then it will show you which elements are clashing with these floors. So the ducts, electrical fixtures, and so on. Perhaps we're more interested in the structural columns clashes. And as you can see, they have clashes with electrical fixtures. I can isolate them. I can zoom in, and there you go. You can see here we have these clashes. Perhaps I want to see the structural framing ones, all of them. There you go. It will show you these interesting clashes. And of course, there's a lot of things that you can do from here, from the data viewer. You can export the results into spreadsheets, into CSV. You can still modify the data viewer. You can save it, and you can also apply colors, sections, and so on. Here we have a 3D, some 3D actions that we can use. For instance, showing grid lines, measuring, choosing the section box, and also choosing the camera settings. In a way that can make the process more simplified for the user and to make them understand which type of clashes they're having in the clash results.
Yeah, so I think what you did there in the data viewer is exactly what I was getting at. So it was just some simple drag and drop. You're organizing your results and kind of creating a clash matrix of sorts where you can quickly hone in on, the different areas that need to be looked at.
Exactly. It is similar to the clash matrix. Indeed, if you group them all by category for the base and colliding elements, the two categories that you're clashing together, basically, it will be resulting in some kind of a clash matrix, indeed, in the data viewer.
Okay, so clashes, hard clashes, still probably the number one use case that we get and we hear. The next one I would say, Ward, is around soft clashes or clearance checks. So when it comes to clearance checks, again, a lot of workflows we see is People doing extra modeling inside of Revit, they're modeling the clearance zones, and then they're bringing it into their clash software and running clash detection. And then they kind of are back to this original problem. So how can Checkpoint offer a different way to check clearances, to check those free spaces?
Yes. So actually, this brings back all the memories that I had in the industry back in the days when I was a BIM engineer, because truly these clearances was such a headache. So we create them and then we add them to the elements and make sure that they're not intersecting. Sometimes we don't even add them. We just look, by observation and just go through the model manually and make sure that we have spaces, let's say, for the mechanical equipment, for the doors, for the alarm panels, and so on. We just needed some clearance over there. In Checkpoint, we have a specific rule for that, and we call it the free space check. So if I go over here, let me reset the view, close these results. Here I've created some examples. So what we're doing with the free space check is that we're creating a geometry for the element that we would like to have a clearance for. And we can fully customize it the way we want, and also see which elements we would like to have within the boundary or exclude from there. So one of the use cases that I've created is no elements within 1 meter square below the heat recovery units. These are mechanical equipment which would need some maintenance. So we need to have an adequate space for them. So I'm going to open the rule editor. There you go. It will open on the right. As you can see, the rule type, it's a free space check. And we have some requirements which we need to set up. The first one is the target element. Which element Checkpoint is creating the geometry for? Here I've chosen the mechanical equipment. Luckily, the mechanical equipment that we have in this model are all heat recovery units. So you can see that in the 3D viewer. But of course, if you want to narrow down the results, or you want to filter out more elements, you can keep on adding properties, just like I'm doing from here. Let's say you want to include a specific type of these mechanical equipment. You can add a statement, and then you can filter them out. So for the disallowed elements here, we have categories. So it's currently empty. And what I can do is I've prepared a list of elements or categories that I want to make sure that they don't have any clash or any soft clash with the clearance that I'm creating for the mechanical equipment. For this reason, we're going to add a property. So from the attributes property set, go to the category, and then choose any off. Now, of course, we don't want to go and, let's say, I don't want to see pipes and also ducts. So we can do that, but it's just a lot of manual work. Here, I can just go to my Excel. I've prepared an Excel sheet, as you can see from here. And I've prepared all these categories. I want to add them, and I don't want to do it in a manual way. So I can just select them all like this, Control C, go to my checkpoint, Control V, and there you go. We have all these categories that I want to make sure they don't have any intersection with the clearance that I'm creating for my heat recovery units. So we're going to save. Actually, let's just make sure that everything is working well. So here we can run also a sanity check, a 3D preview for the elements. There you go. So these are all the elements that we have in the model. Save. And the next thing is defining the dimensions for the box that we're creating. So here you can control the width, height, and depth for the element, as well as the alignment for it. So you can make it from the top, from the bottom, from the center. Here, I'm just going to keep it from the center and just straight, extrude an element below the heat recovery units. So I'm going to make it in the bottom. And we're going to make it 1 meter. So we can have 1 meter square, save, and then run it. So there you go. We have some results. We can run the text view, of course, to show the hidden elements, but let's just keep it this way. There you go. You can see for the ones in green, there is no intersection, but for instance, this one, here we have a clash with these floors. This one over here, also with floors, but also a pipe or a flex duct, I think. Yes, it's a flex duct. And we can see the results also in the data viewer. So in the data viewer, I can keep on grouping and so on. Another use case that I'm having here today is the 1 meter behind and front of the doors. And I'm gonna also include all the elements. So attributes, category, any off, and then paste the list that I have. Save, save, and then run it. Now I know that might sound, and look a lot of clicking that is happening, but you can actually create these and run through some kind of a template. And I will mention that towards the end. But here you can see the results. So for these doors, there's some space, but this one, some clashes, this one over here as well.
So Ward, these green and red zones that we're seeing, failed and passed, that's the clearance zone that you defined.
Yes, indeed.
But you didn't do any extra modeling.
Nope, that's the thing. We're eliminating the manual work that comes in from this because I've seen it. I've worked with it. I myself, we used to create these stuff. We used to add them to the original family, especially if you're working with Revit. You can add, a geometry for the element. You can have them as generic models as well, but they will result in a lot of false positives, especially when you run a clash check, you export into another platform and then run your clash check on the other platform. Of course, it will result in a lot of false positives. And that's why the data viewer, along with the free space check, is a good combination for the soft clashes.
Got it. Okay. So this covers geometrical checks. Two of the most common geometrical checks that we hear and we see. It's clashes, it's soft clashes, or clearance checks. Now we're seeing more firms wanting to get into data validation. So as owners, some owners trying to move more towards digital twins. If you want to do model-based takeoffs, get more into 4D, 5D, 6D applications, it's really critical that all the data that's in the models is accurate. It exists. It meets your project requirements. It's consistent. So that's been kind of the next evolution of how people are coming to Solibri and wanting to expand their model checking. So what can Checkpoint offer to firms that are looking to now kind of go down this road?
Yes. So I've seen, especially in the last few years, that there's a huge push for the ISO 19650, better information management for the BIM models, and that's why we need to have reliable data. A lot of people confuse model checking for clash detection. They think that model checking is only clash detection, and that's not the case. Model checking means that I want to make sure that everything is reliable in my model, from the geometrical checks to the data checks that I have in the model. So this is something that we can support also. That we can support on Checkpoint is that I can run some property checks. For instance, here I want to make sure that all the levels are named according to the project requirements, and my project requirements needs to have, let's say, 2 strings and there's a dash between them. So I can just run this rule, and then it will show me which levels don't have the correct naming. So I'm checking the name property over here, and there you go. Now, because it's levels, it's an annotation. It's not an element with a material. You won't see it in the 3D viewer, but you can see it also in the data viewer. So it will show you which levels have the correct name. So this one, you can see it's passed because the name is like 2 strings and there's a dash in between. The same thing for this one. But the ones that have failed, you can see there's only 1 string. So there's different requirements that you can add over here, depending on the operator that you're using. So we can have begins with, ends with, contains, also any of if we want to have more more elements to check or more values that we want to have. Another one is, let's say, the OmniClass number for the furniture. We want to make sure that all the furniture have one of these 4 OmniClass numbers. So I can run it, and there you go. You can see the results. We can also see them in the data viewer, in the 3D viewer. There you go. For instance, this table or this specific furniture don't have a correct OmniClass number. So these are the stuff that we can check and validate. We use wildcards, and this is what I've done in the previous check over here. We support 7 different wildcards, especially for users who would like to have more control on the values and the checking part. So they can use the wildcards section for this. And this is how you can run a property check on Solibri Checkpoint.
Got it. Okay, so I've got one more question for you, Ward, and then I think we'll have to switch to Q&A. So obviously, as model checking gets introduced to firms and broader teams within the offices, it's a little bit of a means to an end. It's ensuring that your models are of high quality so that you can get them out the door, get your projects out the door, and get them built. So it's got to be an easy to use application. It's got to be quick time to value. Adoption has to be fast. We've seen you kind of work around the platform here for a little bit today. Are there some other things that you could share with the audience just around how easy is this really to learn and start to adopt?
Yes. So Solibri Checkpoint is designed for people who don't have the time to learn the tools, I would say, because most of the tools out there, they require heavy training, spending a lot of hours in order to master the tool. But that's not really the case with Solibri Checkpoint. There's a systematic workflow that any user will have to go through, and it starts from the icons that you see at the top over here. So the icons on the left represent the workflow that any user would go through. So accessing the models, let's say if you're connected to ACC, you want to have different versions of the model, you can do that. Your team is working at the same time and they're pushing new updates on the models. You can also access that instantly in Checkpoint because of the integration with ACC and also Procore, OneDrive, and so on. Then you will start setting up your data views, especially for QTOs. I know we don't have a time now to go through it, but also Checkpoint can support information takeoff. So you can extract information, run the data views to help you over there. Then we can start setting up filters, setting up the rules, and the last step is issues. And I think I can go just real quick through this section. For instance, if I run this rule real quick, and I want to sync the issue to my ACC account. My team is working on ACC, and I want to see also over there. So what I can do, I just go directly to issues. As you can see, because I'm working on an ACC project, I'm directly connected over there. I can add a new issue, take a screenshot, add all the information that is coming from ACC. So I'll just call it test. I will assign it to myself, due date, and then save. As soon as I save it, the issue will be pushed directly to ACC. So now, if I go to my ACC account over here, you can see I don't have any issues. I can just refresh. Okay. And voila, a new issue. I can click here, and then you can see that we have a screenshot coming on from Checkpoint. The connection is bidirectional, so we can change it either from ACC or even from Checkpoint and see the changes over there. So this is on my ACC account. Also, if you go back to the main page, here we have tutorials explaining the steps that I went through in detail. So any user can start their journey with Checkpoint by going to the tutorials and carry on from there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for walking us through the platform. I'm personally very excited. It's just so powerful, all the features you're offering. And I see applications honestly for different size firms, small all the way to larger firms with multiple offices, like all over the world can use this, and then also smaller firms. So I have a couple questions, but unfortunately we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to ask you two of them, Ward. So one of them is about the collaboration part that I personally love. So you showed us how you can work with members from your organization and also from outside. Can you talk a little bit more about how it works and how different individuals can work? Can you work like simultaneously, or do you first like come up with that list of clashes and then share the list. So how that piece works. And then the last question, what is next for Solibri Checkpoint? Are you guys working on some new features that you're releasing soon?
Yes. So regarding collaboration, it's actually real time. So you can work with your team members at the same place. And not only that, especially if you're working with ACC, Procore, or other platforms where also accessibility is it's not an issue, but it's sometimes restricted over there. We don't overcome that. We don't like alter it in any way. Also, our access roles goes in line with the project's access roles on ACC. And so let's say on an ACC project, there's an admin right over there. So a project member on Checkpoint cannot actually do much on the ACC project until they get also the access from ACC as well. So it's first secure, and the same thing. It's at the same time it's in real time, so everyone can work at the same time. You can run your own rules. I can run my own rules, and we can exchange everything through the project library at the same time. Yes, and for the future, we're still developing more stuff over here. More integrations are going to come in, more enhanced checks, and more enhanced also issue management platform. We're releasing a new one, and hopefully by the end of the year, we're going to have a new feature for issue management, and we're going to have these small checkpoints in the project where we can see the issues in real time along with our colleagues in the same platform.
Yeah, just to add on to that, Ward and I got a little sneak peek at this new, some of the new communications and collaboration features that are coming. It's really good. Pay attention to Solibri and what we're doing over the next few months as we get ready to release that. And also, I just want to say too, as you saw in one of my initial slides, with all of the different rules that we have in Solibri Office that come out of the box, we're looking at to see how can we pull some of those over into Solibri Checkpoint, not redo any work, but just use kind of what we already have in-house. But at the same time, we got to make sure that Solibri Checkpoint remains an easy to use solution. It needs to be quick, it needs to be fast and easy. So it's a balance, but we will be adding some more of these rule checks as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks, Jason. Thank you, Ward, for spending your time with us today and walking us through Solibri Checkpoint. Very inspiring and very exciting how innovation is, improving our workflow, AEC workflow. And thanks to our audience for your time today. So have a great rest of your day and hope to see you at our next events.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Wonderful. Bye-bye.